The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 17, Episode 9. Is this Season 17? Is it Episode 9? I'm just as lost as the plot right now because I definitely feel like we have lost the plot. The season started off so good at the beginning, and now I was watching this episode like, what is going on? Let's get into this. So there's a few problems with this. There was just an abundance of wasteful scenes. Like that scene with Kelly at the dentist and her boyfriend, he's paying 70K for her to get her teeth done. Her boyfriend, non boyfriend. We don't want to see this. Why are we seeing this if we don't know who your boyfriend is? And I understand you being in a fresh relationship and you not wanting to bring your boyfriend onto the show, but either bring it all the way on or keep it all the way off. We don't want to hear nicknames and code names. And then why is he sending flowers to the dentist? He can send the flowers to your house once you get home after your dental work. Like, this just felt so forced. It was dumb. It didn't make any sense. Then fast forward to the scene with Drew and that random meeting with her assistants. I was like, what are we watching right now? And honestly, they gave more than the cast. But what were we watching? Why? Who are these people? And then when she was planning it at the beginning, because there was like a montage of what all the girls was doing, and she was meeting with her, I guess her new manager. They're planning this meeting, and I'm like, what are they planning a meeting for? What are they talking about? Like, I was just so confused. But I will say, that meeting was hilarious when when they started going back and forth, and the one assistant started coming for the other assistant, and he said, I can say she need a new wig stylist. I can say her wigs were lifting sometimes. It was funny. It was funny, but it just, we don't know these people. We're not invested in these people. So you can't just thrust these people on us all of a sudden and then expect us to care, especially when we haven't seen you for half the season. Drew, you're a full time housewife. Phaedra, you're a full time housewife, honestly, too. And we've barely seen you. We've seen Cynthia every episode, and she's a friend. And this is why we get wasteful scenes like this. We get wasteful scenes like this because Phaedra, she hasn't had a solo scene all season. Drew hasn't had a solo scene all season. We have a lack of scenes, so then we just get these random scenes that we don't need, that don't make sense. They clearly don't have enough content. And another sign that they don't have enough content is because at some point in this episode, they showed a flashback, and it was from the Dallas trip, and it said a month ago. The Dallas trip was 2 episodes ago, an episode and a half ago. So you're telling me in 2 episodes, a whole month has passed because y'all don't have any content. Nobody is really doing anything. And then this entire episode, it was, we have a sit down. In the middle of the sit down, we find out some information through a flashback. Have another sit down. In the middle of that sit down, we find out some more information through a flashback. Have another sit down. And it was just sit down, flashback, sit down, flashback. People are sitting down over here, and then we see that scene in a flashback. Like, it was just a disjointed mess. Then, speaking of flashbacks, we get all these flashbacks of the old Atlanta to try to keep us in. Like when Kelly and Phaedra were meeting, and Kelly's like, oh, I want a friend. I'm going to be a friend 365 days a year, not 265. Then we get the flashback of Portia with the 265 and the Underground Railroad and all that. Then Portia and Kay later, when they make up, we get the flashback with the friend contract. Last episode, we got the donkey booty flashback when Portia wore her bathing suit. I'm sure there's been more flashbacks since then. It's like we just keep getting all these flashbacks of old Atlanta because new Atlanta's not happening, it feels like. They're trying to make fetch happen. Give us new content. Then there's too much fourth wall breaking. Let's talk about that. Kelly, she keeps mentioning she can't film with the kids. K Michelle talking about the plotting behind the scenes, talking about how, oh, they fight, then they make up, they fight, then they make up. It's like, stop explaining the show to us. We know that reality isn't 100% real, but we don't want it thrown in our face that it's not real. It, yeah. And then speaking of this whole plotting situation, it's like we're talking in code too, because we don't know the full details of the plot. Portia, she's talking about this whole married man thing. We don't know the full details about that. We don't know who he is. Like everything is just happening in code. Portia and Shamia, they got an issue and we're dancing around that. Let's talk about the real stuff. It's just not. Nothing happened in this episode. Nothing happened. This could have been an email. And I was really enjoying the season leading up to this, but I don't know what's happening. The episode picks up where it left off. It didn't even need to be a to be continued because nothing happened afterwards. The girls got separated. They separate into their squads to comfort each other, and now we're fully divided. We have the supporting cast, I like to call them. We know who that is, and then we have the main cast. Now, as much as I'm calling those girls the supporting cast, those girls have more personal storylines than the main cast. As much as Kelly gets on my nerves, at least Kelly is talking about, and I don't want her breaking the fourth wall, but she's talking about the kids. She's talking about the husband. I don't care about this fake boyfriend. Shamia, she has her surrogacy journey. She has stuff going on. We've seen K Michelle with her surgery, going to the Country Music Awards. So the supporting cast is doing stuff, but I'm calling them supporting cast because they got that title when they walked out that dinner. We are here to film a show. We are here to get a scene. And the fact that we got one little confrontation and then y'all all like, oh no, we gotta go. At least Portia, she was ready to stay. Like when y'all all left, it was weak. It was whack. Thumbs down for that. Thumbs down for that. Portia was willing to stay. Portia said, look, I'll stay. Let's go back to the table. Just sit me away from her. Just move me to the other side. Like, that's how we do. We don't just end the scene at the one little site of confrontation. And then Phaedra, she took too long because we're so divided at this point. And then that's the other thing we keep pointing out. We're divided. We're divided. The cast is so divided. The group is divided. The group is divided. The group is divided. You girls aren't friends. There was nothing to ever divide. Y'all were already in pieces. So, and if you want to bridge it, like Phaedra, you took too long to go check on those girls. Okay, you were standing outside with Portia just listening. By the time you went to go check on them, half of the supporting cast left already. It's like these girls are. We barely get solo scenes from the girls. When we do group scenes, it's always the whole group. You don't even see them like mixing it up. We mixed it up a little bit this episode for the first time with the Kelly and Phaedra, which was a little something, and then the Pinky, K, and not Pinky and K. Who was it? I don't even know at this point. Pinky, what's that girl's name? Angela and Cynthia. There we go. Like we got them together. It's like we mix it up a little bit, but it's like Shamia and Kelly are completely isolating themselves. We haven't seen them film with anybody at all. Like you girls are just yeah, it is what it is. But Phaedra, she talks to K Michelle and Pinky because they're the only two left at this point because half of the supporting cast left. They're like, we're leaving too. Why are y'all leaving? For what? But they leave. K Michelle, she's talking crap in her confessional about Drew. And it was funny when she said Drew has the huff face because that's all Drew does. She's always acting like she's confused. She's like, that was funny. But then she talks about Ralph being shirtless and being in the basement. And then that's my other thing right there is clearly you watched the show. So if you watched the show, why are you acting so surprised by everything that's transpiring right now? After that, we get a scene with Shamia and her family. She meets with her family. She talks about the sound bath in Dallas and how the girls are accusing her of plotting. Then she talks about Gerald and the egg retrieval. And she's like, Gerald wants a dude. And I'm like, I hate this whole. I understand if you're like, okay, I want a girl, I want a boy, whatever. But it's not like casual. Like, he wants a dude, assuming it's going to be a straight man. What if your son comes out gay? How would you feel about that? How would you treat him, Gerald? Because this whole I want a guy, he needs to be masculine, he needs to be the heir to the Iron Throne. Like, get out of here. Whatever. At least he has a storyline. I'll give him that. But Phaedra and Kelly meet. Kelly apologizes for blowing up at her house. Phaedra's like, it's cool. We just need to try to fix this. We talk about the group division for the 50th time. There's a lot of group division. If the group is so divided, everyone needs to stop meeting individually, get the group together and be like, no one is walking away until we hash this out. Everyone's staying at this table, lock us in a room. If we gotta fight, we gotta cry, we gotta throw plates and boom mics because we know that's what Portia likes to do. No one is walking away until we fully resolve this. That's what they need to do. We keep talking about a division over here, over here. We're talking about a division while keeping it divided. What is happening? I'm just trying to figure out what I was, because the rest of this season was so good, and then I got to this episode and was like, what is happening? But they talk about the division for the 50th time. Kelly is like, look, I'm going through a lot also. My ex is terrorizing me, which I get. Phaedra's like, I can understand because of the whole go away from me, Apollo. I get it. Because I was scared for Phaedra during that scene. If those cameras wasn't there, Apollo would have tore Phaedra up in that garage. He had that drill in his hand. Child. It's going to turn into an episode of Saw. But they talk about Jarvis, who we don't care about. We don't know what he looks like. We don't even know his real name. We don't know what he does. Next, Pinky, Angela, and Cynthia meet. They're having a photo shoot for the children for a children's clothing brand. Now, Pinky's daughter, she was serving a full course meal and eating it up. Okay, she was working them poses. They need, how people have like dance moms and they dance children. Pinky need to be a modeling mom because her daughter was eating it up. She was eating those poses up. She was so comfortable. I loved it. And then Cynthia came in and they was posing together. I was like, this is cute. They sit down, Pinky, Angela, and Cynthia. And I do appreciate the fact that Pinky and Angela were able to move on from the past. But they fill Cynthia in on a sound bath drama. And Cynthia, she tasked them with trying to bring the group together. Like a true anchor. Because, we keep saying Portia's supposed to be the anchor. What is Portia really doing? She being a little messy. She's being a little Portia. But like nobody, I don't even know. I know, and I'm not saying that Anchor always has to be peaceful, because Cynthia isn't always peaceful. She was fighting with the girls on that Dallas trip. 50 Cent was out in full force in that Dallas trip, but she's good at wrangling it back in too. She's doing more as a friend than the rest of these girls are doing. But she tasked them with trying to fix things, and the girls, they go get to work. Okay, Cynthia said, let's go to work. They went to work, because what happened? Pinky went right from Cynthia to Portia's house to try to convince her to talk to K. Michelle. What happened? Angela went right to Shamia and set up a one-on-one to meet with her. Come on, Cynthia. Cynthia's doing the work. We get back to that. The next scene is that wasteful scene of Kelly at the dentist where her man paying $70K for her to get her teeth done. He need to pay for your business that done went out of your chicken and waffles place that done went out of business. Shamia introduced Kelly to this man. I think she introduced Simon to Portia, and we saw how that turned out. I don't know how they met, Simon and Portia, but Gerald knew Simon. I know that at least. So, you only run a company you keep. After that, K. Michelle, Pinky, Cynthia, and Portia, they have lunch together. And K. Michelle and Portia, they call a truce for now. K. Michelle is willing to forgive Portia. Like every time she just gives, and then they start talking about Drew. K. Michelle is given every reason in the book to forgive everybody except for Drew. At first, all three of them were plotting. Then she's like, well, Phaedra knows when to bow out, so I forgive Phaedra. Then next thing you know, all of them are plotting. Then it's like, well, Portia. I don't even know why she decided to forgive Portia, but she's like, Portia, blah, 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 blah. Drew's the real culprit. Like, it's tired, Kay. It is tired. And I was with you last week when you was calling Portia out, but now it's like you done fell to the altar of Portia Williams. We start rehashing all this old stuff while they were talking. The whole miscarriage thing, which I genuinely think Portia was being, just Portia. The whole Kelly thing, Portia accusing Kelly of sleeping with a married man. Like, I understand that jarred you, but girl, it didn't have anything to do with you. And like Portia said, girl, you're going to see much more on the show. That was nothing. Then Pinky's like, well, did y'all resolve this whole plot? No, we didn't resolve the whole plot because we don't know who even told K. Michelle what the plot was. It was probably a producer at this point because they realized there's no storyline since every episode is spread over 3 months. So I'm sure a producer called and was like, girl, you need to get to work. They talking about you behind the scenes. What else is going on? Shamia and Angela meet. They start talking. Shamia is like, girl, why do you keep saying I'm plotting on? Well, I got K. Michelle riled up. Angela, she keeps trying to bait Shamia into talking about Portia, which I don't blame her at this point. Because at this point, you and Portia have been filming a whole season together. Y'all have not said one word to each other, but everyone else has to discuss all their drama. No. This is not how it works. And I'm glad in the mid-season trailer we see they finally get into it and they lay it all out. But it's like, why is it taking so long to get there? But she tries to bait Shamia into talking about Portia. Angela brings up Portia like 50 times. Like, girl, you have a hard on for Portia because you're friends with her. You're talking about her in a confessional, though. And then every 2 seconds in this argument, you're like, Portia, Portia, Portia. Then we got a Candy cameo. Portia. Shamia's like, look, let's stick to you saying why I got like I riled up K. Michelle. It doesn't go anywhere. They start going back and forth. And what I get out of this though is that Charles and Shamia both outside. Because neither one of them denied that. Shamia's like, girl, your man was outside running these streets. And Angela said, and that's fine. But while he's out there running the streets, he said he saw you out there too. That was funny. That was funny. But yeah, none of them denied that. So both of them running the streets. I got out of that. They start talking about the whole, get your businesses straight. Your man's doing this. Shamia starts calling her Bigfoot. The Bigfoot reads are tired. Let's get some new material. Okay. The Bigfoot reads are tired, but nothing comes out of this. Shamia, she gets up and leaves. I would have stayed for the salmon kebabs. I know that. They said they had salmon. I love some salmon. They said they had salmon kebabs. I was like, okay. I don't care if we fighting and we come into a disagreement, I'm staying. If you're staying, we just gonna keep fighting while I eat these salmon kebabs. But if you leave, I'm still staying for the salmon kebabs. Okay. And then we get another ode to old Atlanta because I feel like they are really trying to force old Atlanta to come back, and they just need to accept that old Atlanta is gone. Let's lean into a new era, but let's figure out something that works. But we get some street confessionals, and the girls are just out on the streets, just talking shit about each other. And it's funny because when they left, it was daytime, but then when they were doing the at least when Shamia left, it was daytime. She got in that car and peeled off. So I'm like, did they pull her over in the middle of the night while she was driving home? Because I know it take an hour to get to places in Atlanta, and be like, girl, talk about this. But either way, it was funny when it was on the streets talking shit about each other outside of the scene. I did enjoy that. But that was the episode. We get the mid-season trailer, and then even in the mid-season trailer, there were only like 3 scenes. It seemed like it was the scene with K. Michelle versus Drew, the Scotland trip, and then it was like one other scene. Like, it doesn't seem like there's much left to happen, and we're still going on about this black situation. Like, this man is a loser. We don't care about him. I'm still hold out hope because I am very excited about the Scotland trip at least. But it's like the Scotland trip's going to be at the end of the season. What are we going to get in between that? Is it just going to be K. Michelle and Drew this whole time? Because if so, we need to figure something else out. But yeah, this is definitely a filler episode. This definitely could have been an email. We'll see what happens next week. Let me know what you guys think. Bye, y'all.